Hey guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to do a quick tutorial on my half laminated tabs that I use in my Hobonichi Cousin and in my bullet journal. I've had a few questions on where they're from and how I make them, so I'm going to walk you through making some for my 2020 Cousin. So I use Post-it brand repositionable tabs. They come in various color palettes and various sizes. You can pick them up on Amazon or Target, places like that, and then just any washi tape that you have laying on hand. I will be using Scotch brand laminating pouches along with a Scotch brand laminator. I think I got mine 2 years ago for like $20 online. They're relatively reasonable. For my first tab, I'm pulling out just one of the ones that has a colored little bit at the top. I find those to be the most accessible, or what I see most often in stores, so I just want to show you how I kind of work around that color. I'm taking some whiteout. Mine is Tombow brand, but you can use any sort of whiteout tape to cover that little bit of color so that it's not going to poke through your transparent washi tapes. Most washi tapes are transparent, that's why I bother to do this. And when you use the whiteout, it will be a little bit more opaque compared to the rest of the tabs. So if that bothers you, just white out the whole way down versus just the top, but it doesn't really bother me, so I just do that little bit of color so I don't see it poking through. And then basically the unsticky part I'm covering with washi tape. This washi tape is MT brand and I got it off of Amazon, I believe. I've had it in my collection for a few years. And then what I do using my scissors is I'm basically trimming around and re-rounding out those corners, just following along the actual tab itself and cutting off just the excess washi tape. I prefer the rounded cornered look. If you would like to have square corner, you could probably just go ahead and trim off that colored portion of the tab and then have a nice squared off corner. The next tab I'm doing a little bit differently. I'm pulling out a 5mm washi tape. This is a black washi tape with gold foil and it is by Simply Gilded. And with these 5mm washi tapes, because I plan on laminating them, I basically lay down one row at a time, and then I'm just using a gift card sort of as a straight edge to tear that washi along the edge. And then I like to do these one side at a time and then trim them down. With the more opaque washi tapes, it can be a little bit harder to see that rounded corner that I prefer to have with my tab, so doing these one side at a time works just a little bit better for me. If you are not planning on laminating these tabs and you just want to cover them with washi, you could probably just wrap the washi around continuously until it was covered, but because I laminate them, laying them down one row at a time like this is a little bit more wasteful, but it keeps the tab flatter, so you have less excess lamination hanging around the tab to keep it sort of sealed. I use just washi tabs for probably the majority of the year. I think I started doing this around March of 2019, but with the foil, the washis in particular, the foiling will sort of start to flake off just with general use. I pull on the tab basically every day within my planner, and then also if I was wrapping the washi around continuously, it would start to kind of pull up. So I found that laminating just sort of protected the tab in the foiling and they looked nicer longer. So now I'm pulling out one of those whiter tabs. These work out really well because the ones I have are just sort of a blank background, so I don't need to doctor them at all. I can just go ahead and cover them straight with washi tape. These would also work out really well if you needed to create multiple tabs. You could just sort of trim them down the middle and you'd have two tabs, and if you had a corner rounder, maybe you can match up the other one. Otherwise, if you have good patience and steady hands, you could probably re-round them or just, square off both sides. So you can get quite a few tabs out of these if you wanted. I just wanted one sort of large tab, so I left it as is for this one. So now I'm pulling out my Scotch brand laminating pouches. You could probably use any laminating pouches you find online. This one just happened to be a self-sealing one, and because I have a laminator, even though it's self-sealing, I am going to run it through just to kind of get a better seal on it. But the trick to doing this is basically just put the washi portion, and then I do maybe like 1 to 2 millimeters more of the tab that isn't covered by washi, just to make sure that the full washi portion will be encased, and then I leave the repositionable, slightly sticky portion outside of the laminating pouch. So you're basically going along the edges, and you want to make sure that you give these a fair amount of space in between them, because there is a little bit of a lamination sort of bubble or seal that's going to go around each of these tabs, and you need to make sure that you don't trim into that. You'll see that a little bit better once I finish laminating them. You could probably just sit down and move the air bubbles out and trim these out as is if you don't have a laminator, just using a self-laminating pouch, but because I have one, I'm going to go ahead and use it. And to make sure I kind of protect both my machine and keep the sticky tab from getting too hot, I'm just using that paper that came within the pouch and placing that along the sticky portion just so it's not going to touch the laminator directly at all. My laminator has 2 settings. It has a 3-minute setting and a 5-minute setting. I believe the 5-minute setting is just a little bit hotter than the 3-minute setting, so that's the one that I'm going with, and I run these through the laminator 2 times. I find that's about the perfect amount to get as close of a seal as possible with these tabs, and I've not had any issues with the tabs sort of losing stickiness, even though they're going through the heat or anything like that. They seem to work just as fine as they did before I started laminating them. So once I've finished laminating them, I'm just peeling back that paper that I used to sort of protect the tabs, and then I will start trimming them out. So when you trim them out, look at them pretty closely. They've got a little bit of an air bubble around them. You don't want to cut into that. If you end up cutting into that, you're basically breaking the seal, so then eventually the plastic will just kind of flake right off and you'll be back with just a washi covered tab, which is fine. But if you want to keep them nice and a little bit more rigid feeling, make sure you leave a little bit of excess around your tabs so they don't look like perfect tabs. You've got a little bit of plastic around them, but for the most part, I find that once you put them in your planner, you don't really notice it. I like this because it sort of protects the washi, it keeps it from flaking. Having a tab, my planner, just like way more functional and way more likely to flip to that tracker or that section that I need or whatever the list is. And these last for a long time. I think I've had my current tabs in my planner for about a year, and I've laminated them, and I'm expecting to get probably another year's worth out of them. I'm sure the sticky part will go bad first, but they work out really well. So I hope this helped you guys kind of understand how I make these tabs and how I use them in my planners. If you have any questions, let me know down below. But otherwise, I will catch you guys next time.